Over a year ago at this point, I made a video talking about an undisclosed Minecraft YouTuber I worked for back in 2016 at the ripe age of 15/16. You're more than welcome to watch that video, but I would say it's slightly outdated, or very outdated for that matter, as I'm currently rewriting this script after recent events. I'm not gonna beat around the bush, as the YouTuber in question has pretty much already made our private conversation public without censoring names. I never had any intentions of revealing, and I still don't. Today we're talking about none other than SirCutieYuki, otherwise known as Andy Linhart, Andy Linehart, and 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗁𝗂𝗧𝗏. For those of you that aren't already in the know, I worked for Yuki back in 2015 to 2017. Contrary to Yuki's recollection, I was actually there from the very beginning, though I went under a different name back then. I'm not surprised that he doesn't remember me, as I was more reserved, especially back then, consequently making me a lower tiered member. I was still let in on all the gossip, as I was close friends with the highest tier members and close friends of Yuki back then. If you know anything about the real Yuki, it's that he loves to gossip about anything and everything, whether it concerns him or not, and whether it's even true in the first place. Recently, fellow Minecraft YouTuber, the famous films, or Brian, revealed that Yuki had allegedly been going around spreading lies about his sexual health. Based on my experience with Yuki, I have reason to believe that Brian is telling the truth, as Yuki had a tendency to tell us young and naive crew members secrets about YouTubers, more often than not painting them in a horrible light. There's absolutely no universe where Brian's sexual health is the business of the people Yuki decides to gossip with, and he's rightfully upset. How did Yuki respond? Well, he blocked him, of course, like he always does to anyone that dares to speak out, running from his troubles again and again. Before I go any further, I should probably reiterate my own experience with the one and only SirCutieYuki and how we met. First things first, I was born 2nd of June 2000, while he was born 15th of March 1996, which makes him 4 years older than me. Like many of his original crew members, I was a huge fan of Yandere High School by Sam Gladiator back in late 2015, which would make me 15. I was an active member of the community, making a lot of art to post on Twitter, garnering the attention of quite a few Yandere High School actors, for the lack of a better word. At the beginning of Yandere High School's second season, titled Tokyo Soul, Yuki mysteriously disappeared from the cast. Personally, I don't know exactly why that is. I've only ever heard rumors. All I know for certain is that this is around the time Yuki opened up applications to start his own crew. Being a young, dumb, and naive fanboy, of course I applied. And as the story goes, I was accepted in the very first crew draft. Almost immediately, we're told that we're no longer allowed to talk about Yandere High School or Sam Gladiator, as if that's not the entire reason we were there in the first place. And the reason he even had a platform to begin with. But what do I know? Like, I understand if you don't want us to talk about anything Yandere High School related around you for whatever fucking reason, but we didn't even dare engage in the fandom we still loved on our own social medias, in the fear of getting on Yuki's bad side. And believe me, that's not an unfounded fear, as we were often threatened to get kicked if we didn't stop associating with certain people Yuki didn't like for whatever reason on our own free time. Looking back, that was probably the very first massive red flag, as he controlled what we could and couldn't talk about in our spare time. We're not allowed to talk about Yandere High School, but he would gladly ask a 16-year-old how big their breasts were in a call full of people. He did that, by the way. He asked my breast size, and I was extremely uncomfortable. It didn't take long after joining for the environment to turn extremely toxic. I will of course substantiate whatever I can, but there's a few significant events that either took place in a voice chat or are lost to time due to lost chat logs. Whether it's in a server we're no longer a part of or on Skype where we've tried to recover old conversations without success as of yet. That being said, everything I will cover Yuki has pretty much admitted to in the conversation he himself leaked before I had the chance to make this video. I'm just gonna play you his admissions back to back before I give you more context to just get that out of the way.
Want me to go through the stuff that I agree, yes, I did wrong, and, you know, kind of clear that stuff up in a way, I suppose. So I've got a list of stuff that you mentioned in your video, and I thought, right, yeah, I should talk about those to you. So, obviously, at the crew, I kept threatening people to leave if they didn't do this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, it was more than just threatening, it was threatening.
Right. Well,
or not threatening, but like using as an emotional leverage against him.
So, yeah, I did do that. I told him I would off myself. I was at the time. I know that was
but
wrong.
he was 16 and you were 20, 21. What were you?
Right. At the end of the day, that's my situation. And, you know, I've heard does the same thing. So, does someone want to dig
but
up
does
those
that
DMs?
make it okay? Because
It doesn't make it
that
okay,
to you.
but at the end of the day, he does the same thing, and, you know, it's an embarrassing thing I've done in the past, and I've learned from it. I will mention that I'm definitely a lot more talkative with the crew, because I definitely wasn't back then. Back then, it was definitely a lot more of a parasocial relationship, where they saw me as this person in power, and I was like, yeah, cool, do this, that, please. It was like that back then, I will admit. I was a bit...
You still talk people behind the back, like the crew members?
No. I talk them to their face, if they do you know. I'm gonna be honest with them. You know? The next thing is sharing inappropriate images and drawings.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff is embarrassing as all hell. And, yeah, I'm hella ashamed. So... I went by the UK law during that time. I was like, 16 and up is fine. It's not fine.
Oh, yeah, because
I'm
pretty sure that even though the age of consent is 16, you still have to be 18 to view and distribute.
So in my mind, I thought it was okay. It's not.
Oh, yeah. But I'm pretty sure that and did confront you about that, and it didn't turn out well.
Wow, I don't know what situations you're talking about, and I can't really...
Oh, yeah, you had a not safe for work chat, I'm pretty sure, and
I made it for 17 and up.
Yeah, 17 to compensate, and when they said that you can't do that...
I did, yeah. I did that because I was going in between the laws. Well, yeah, I was shocked. I thought it was okay, and obviously it wasn't. The smoking and drinking stuff... Yeah, I probably shouldn't have brought up smoking in front of the teenagers and what have you.
Oh yeah, I don't have a problem with that specifically, but
yeah, but I know, but
specifically
I still...
specifically, I think the worst part was joining calls while drunk.
Oh.
With minors.
Yeah, that I don't remember, but honestly...
Oh yeah, no, you did that back in Skype days.
Back in Skype days.
Oh yeah.
That must have been, that was 2016 then. Honestly, I don't remember that, so I can't really, you know.
Yeah. So, now that we've established that Yuki was indeed toxic, he exploited the labor of a bunch of kids that looked up to him, he allowed not safe for work around us, he drank and smoked around us, I want to tell you about my experiences. Whether he remembers being drunk and getting in calls with us minors or not, he couldn't keep his story straight and admitted to being drunk in most of his videos throughout 2018 in one of his deleted responses. Need I remind you that all of his videos are reliant on his crew, a crew which consists of many minors. Am I just supposed to believe they never witnessed the same things I witnessed when I was the 16-year-old crew member? I know that's more speculative on my part, but like, come on, you'd have to be willfully ignorant or dangerously stupid to not connect the dots. Assuming that a majority of people watching this never got to experience what was the early days of the SirCutieYuki fandom, if you can even call it that, you should know that there was a very sexual atmosphere. I don't know how else to put it, like, I shouldn't have to tell you that Yuki is a very sexual person, just look at his not safe for work account for f***'s sake. Not to diagnose him or anything, but it's giving addiction, you know what I mean? Anyone active in the crew would remember that he would often force comments whenever and post lewd content before deleting it after only a few of us saw. Being kids, we went, "Oh my god, Yuki, XD, you can't post that in minors chat, you're so crazy, haha, you're not like other Minecraft YouTubers, you're cool, unlike those stuck-up family-friendly YouTubers. You will joke about and which is so funny. I'm 15, so I don't know any better, ahahaha." This being very much the dynamic, it wasn't out of the ordinary when I tweeted about how I'm about to turn 16, and Yuki responded with, "Legal age in the UK, my little flower. Hang me." And you know what my thought was at the time? Oh my god, Yuki commented on my post! Yippee, I'm special! Never mind the problematic age difference, there was an added layer of power imbalance, as this is the SirCutieYuki. You know, the one from the hit series Yandere High School, the OG Yandere, and the creator of Am I Dating Sam Gladiator? Q&A with SirCutieYuki. What makes this even worse is that this isn't a one-off incident. This is just a time where he felt comfortable enough to make it publicly. Just recently did several of his ex-friends and co-workers confirm that this is behavior he's engaged in to this very day, in a collaborative PSA by former crew members recounting their experiences. Quote, "It doesn't matter if you engage in the conversation either, he will abruptly inform you of his latest whack, as if you're wanting to know about his stories, be it in call, direct message, or even private group and server chats. They're sharing private and very personal details in hope of the same being shared back. Information as such is and should stay private. It's quite sensitive information and can bring out vulnerability in people. It's not wrong to want to be on equal wavelengths with friends, but we solely believe that lives shouldn't be a primary aspect of it. We did not need to know that last night Yuki/Andy had a in the bathroom and it turned out unsatisfactory, which is why he's pent up the next day. We did not need to know that his sister walked in while he was playing with his vibrator. He did not need to share that with the group chat, especially when no one has ever responded well to that kind of topic to converse about. We've also experienced a lot of the time that it doesn't matter the time or place. Yuki/Andy doesn't have the courtesy to not bring up lewd and not safe for work context and contents to the table. We could be talking about video games and the latest Twitter art trend, and now they've turned the conversation into kinks, sex toys, and wanting to pick someone to see what it's like. Hypersexual interests and curiosity is valid, however, it should be moderated and shared in minimal exposure. Not everyone consents to being bombed about lewd and provocative topics where they have little to no preparation to even withstand the whiplash of a conversation turner. I understand that some may remain doubtful as they don't provide evidence in the form of screenshots or anything else, though as a former crew member, I don't find it particularly hard to believe, as this is a spot-on description of how he would go about it. What are the odds that a bunch of people, separate from the original crew that dropped out en masse, years after the fact, would tell the same story. There's specifically 3 personal experiences that really stand out to me. 2 of them I've already spoken about publicly, but it bears repeating as a certain somebody, SirCutieYuki, seems to be in need of a reminder of what actually happened. So here goes. I was in a public call with the crew as per usual back then, and this happened to be one of the few occasions Yuki graced us with his presence. Mind you, I was a timid 16-year-old, so I wouldn't really speak to Yuki unless spoken to, and I especially wouldn't join calls unless my friends were already there. For whatever reason, though let's be real, Yuki doesn't really need a reason to, he was speaking about traps, excuse my language, something he felt very passionately about at the time, along with shotas and lollies. Now, I don't really know if he sent this to everyone, or if I alone was the only one privileged enough to gaze upon the outline of an anime boy's balls. And honestly, it doesn't really matter, because fact of the matter is that Yuki sent a 16-year-old his lewd art as a fully grown 20-year-old. As some of you might know already, Yuki recently gave us his scuffed retelling of events in a document he released in an attempt to soften the blow of this video, as he probably knew it was in the making. Maybe a hunch. Quote, "This is an image I drew in 2016. I showed Miles this drawing. This was the very first message I've ever sent him. I recall being on call with him and asking him for advice on the piece. I can see how this can be seen as inappropriate, and I'm embarrassed by this very occurrence. Miles was 16 and I was 20 at the time. I shouldn't have sent this image to him. Notice how our stories aren't lining up exactly? Well, that's because he's lying, like the little liar he is. He didn't ask me for advice, and even if he did, what the f***? What am I supposed to say? Nice art, Yuki. I really like what you did with the facial expression. Though, if you were to change anything, I really suggest you make the balls even bigger. I should also mention that out of my friends in the crew at the time, I was probably the oldest, and what I saw, more often than not, the others saw too. So I'd kindly ask him to shove that UK age of consent up his fucking ass, because some of the kids exposed to his sexual comments were even younger than me. Now, the second event I want to talk about took place in the crew group chat and a voice call. Several of us Minecraft child slaves were in a call working on something. For whatever reason, Yuki would sometimes have the brilliant idea of just disrupting the work process and f*** with us, because that's a mature thing to do. We're literally here helping you for free. As he often would do, he was in the middle of sending massive yaoi pecs before deleting it and watching the chaos ensue. And that's when he started asking all of us if our breasts were bigger than the tits of his boyfriend at the time, who was kinda jolked. Good for him. Now the thing is, I'm autistic as shit, so of course I went probably, because objectively that was probably the case. I didn't think much of it, because at the end of the day it's just blobs on your chest and there's nothing inherently sexual about them. In hindsight, this was a mistake. I can't stress this enough. A huge, massive mistake. Because what I thought to be an innocuous response, Yuki apparently saw as an invitation to make everything extremely uncomfortable by hushing them all to call attention to me. I don't know what they were expecting for me to hold a speech about living with big boobs. Something I would rather not, as I am indeed a trans man and I have gone through top surgery in recent years, because having boobs was kinda traumatic for me.
Big boobs? What?
Last but not least, I only unlocked a cursed memory recently where Yuki was showing us old pictures of him with a short wig, asking us if we would call him daddy. Even back then I remember thinking, what in the cinnamon toast fuck do you mean? Cause I'm not about to call someone I could probably step on daddy. I'm 16 and the only man I should be calling daddy at that age left when I was 12. These incidents are far from isolated, and that's just a fraction of what I experienced first hand as a lower ranked ex-crew member, and I can only imagine it gets worse the closer you are to the shitstorm that is the one and only SirCutieYuki. Friends of mine have also requested that I bring up the actual unpaid labor, which didn't affect me because I was too busy with school. It was around the time that I realized that working for this entitled part-time Minecraft YouTuber and part-time man baby shouldn't come at the expense of my real life. I think many of us did, because shortly after a handful of the most important crew members left around the same time, but not before Yuki got the inspiration to organize a bunch of animation collabs, utilizing the many talented artists in the crew to produce music videos for his Minecraft series, practically for free. Assuming that this is completely voluntary, then I could give him some leeway, though I would still argue that it's quite scummy to exploit a bunch of kids competing for your attention. But that's not quite the case, so no, many of the artists have pointed out that they were promised some sort of reward for participating. After the "What's the use of feeling blue" collaboration, Yuki put the following in the crew announcements. Quote, "Hello artists, I am happy to announce another animation collaboration will be happening. Since the last one got 100k views within 2 weeks, all the artists in that video are getting a split of the amount of money made from it. So why am I typing here? Because I will be setting up a new animation collab. Would you like to apply to be in the next one? Apply in my Twitter direct messages, at SirCutieYuki, as if we didn't fucking know who we were working for. The musts are digital art, can get on well with other artists, will put effort into the work, see you in the DMs, I've spoken to many of the artists and none of them ever received their cut. That animation now has over 666 thousands of views. That's over 13 times the average view count on his videos. And that's a generous estimation. This all was around early/mid 2017, or as I like to call it, the final days of the OG crew, and all of us were hanging on for dear life as we've been sucked completely dry by Yuki's toxicity and demands. I've always told people that the only reason I really stuck around for like the last 3/4 of my time in the crew was to not get separated from my friends. We were legit strategizing behind the scenes because Yuki had threatened our friend, 16 years old and dealing with his own issues, that he would kill himself if we left, which he admitted to in the call.
So obviously, at the crew, I kept threatening people to leave if they didn't do this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, it was more than just threatening. It was threatening, you know.
Right. Well, I
or
threatened...
not threatening, but like using suicide as an emotional leverage against him.
So yeah, I did do that. I told him I would off myself. I was suicidal at the time. I know that
but he was 16 and you were 20, 21. What were you?
Right. At the end of the day, that's my situation. So, and you know, I've heard that does the same thing. So, does someone want to dig
but
up
does that make it okay? Because
it doesn't make it
that
okay.
to you.
But at the end of the day, he does the same thing, and you know, it's an embarrassing thing I've done in the past, and I've learned from it.
He tried to defend himself, saying that this 16-year-old reassured him that he, a 20-plus-year-old, could tell him anything.
But at the end of the day, he used to always tell me, "You can talk about stuff if you want to." He reminded me over almost every recording. And then I told him the truth. I feel like I'm dying if people don't help me. And yeah, that was f***ed up. I'm not gonna lie. It was messed up. Have I ever done that since? No.
Okay, I'm gonna trust you on that. Guys, it's not statutory rape because the 15-year-old said it was okay. Please don't send me to jail. It was consensual. That's an exaggeration, but do you see how the logic isn't logicking? I mean, I sympathize with your ideation. I've been there myself, but never once have I ever made it the responsibility of someone else, let alone a kid. I remember being scared of leaving the crew at that point, cause although I didn't like the way he treated us, I actually didn't want Yuki to hurt himself. Believe it or not. That's why I waited until he seemed more mentally stable before I left. For many years after leaving the crew, I laid low. I talked to him in private together with the rest of his former crew members, but can you really blame us? After all he put us through, I think we deserve to crack jokes at his expense. I still do crack jokes at his expense because I genuinely think he sucks. Literally soup for brains. But I have a life outside of that. Yuki was nothing but a laughingstock we mentioned in passing in private conversations. He only really appeared on my radar again in late 2020 when one of his YouTube friends and collaborator was outed as a groomer. You know what they say already, birds of a feather flock together, and it couldn't be more true. I'm not really into the whole Minecraft scene, so the only reason I even found out about it is because Yuki had the absolutely big, juicy, wrinkled brain idea to insert himself into the situation with a tweet longer where he tried to discredit the grooming victim. Yeah. Can you believe it? Because it still feels like a fever dream to me. 17th of December 2020, Yuki tweeted out the following on his main account. Trigger warning, grooming, when I was groomed. Read. Quote. So, the reason I'm upset about a situation that has recently occurred is because when I was 15, I was actually groomed. And I'm here to tell you my story. I'm really emotional when writing this, so I apologize for any errors. I'm not gonna read his recounting of getting groomed because, quite frankly, it's irrelevant to the situation. If he wants to open up about an experience such as this, then I fully support him. What I can't and won't condone is weaponizing his own experience to discredit a victim. Assuming that there's actually an issue with the victim's story, or if it's not cancel worthy, then you should be able to address that without having to compare experiences. He ended the tweet longer with, quote, grooming is being led into a false security. It's purely traumatizing. It's not something to make a joke of. That's why, in my opinion, teenagers texting weird shit to each other is still weird, even more when one is underage and the other isn't. But it's so stupid to be seen as something to burn someone for. That's a stupid mistake and should be learned from, and those people should be allowed to continue with their lives, online or offline. Thanks for reading. Does anyone else get the feeling the only reason he's even defending this person is because he knows he's done even worse stuff? Besides, who the hell is making a joke of grooming? I recall the victim being very serious. If anyone here is a joke, it's you, you clown. Yuki didn't make a single point in this tweet longer, except, my experience was worse, and in my opinion, you're not valid. You wanna know how I know this tweet longer was just pulled out of his f***ing ass? Because once the dust had settled and people had made up their mind about his friend, that's when he retracted his statement, months after the fact, when it was very clear that he was in the wrong. He put out a document addressing and apologizing for a number of controversies. First one being his defense of his groomer friend. Quote, so to start, I owe victim an apology from earlier this year. I belittled her and her situation, which is something I have since reflected on. I was completely in the wrong for doing that, and I want everyone to know that I do not support groomer in any way. His actions were wrong. My part in defending him was a mistake. I understand what I did wrong, and I think I just found it hard to accept that my friend at the time was a terrible person. Furthermore, I learned of the actions he's made and has continued to make. I have since cut ties with him and accepted that he is someone I do not want in my life, and I will support the victims as I can. I don't know, man. Maybe you should have reflected a little bit more before putting out a tweet longer attacking the victim and made their entire situation about yourself. If you just didn't know about the entire situation, you could have easily found that information as the victim put out their entire story on TikTok before they had to take it down due to harassment. You either heard the victim's story and decided to defend your friend anyways, or you only listened to the accused's retelling of events and ran with it because you're dangerously stupid or something. Either way, you are a danger to the MCYT community and shouldn't have a platform. In this document, he also addresses his old interest in 𝗚𝗨/𝗁𝗀𝗄𝗏. Quote, "As for the lolly stuff, back in 2017 and previous, I used to use the tag #lolly in my Instagram photos. In 2017, I had deleted those photos because I was embarrassed by those tags after learning the term. At the time, I thought it meant a cute girl, not realizing it was something very inappropriate. I apologize for that. I agree that it was gross, but I have already learned and moved past that." Anyways, here's a picture of him drawing Sam as a little young boy together with his own character as the clown that he's obsessed with. For those of you that don't know, Yuki used to call himself a real-life lolly back in the day, which me and my friends used to have a good old laugh at. Resurfaced tweets even show him jokingly calling himself a legal lolicon, using his room temperature IQ. He argues that this proves he wasn't into lolicon because he meant to call himself a lolly rather than lolicon. Personally, I just think he's too stupid to differentiate between terminology, because the way he talked about lolly and 𝗁𝗀𝗄𝗏 back in the day, along with his porn addiction, there's absolutely no way in hell that he didn't know about the sexual connotations. From what I and my friends remember, he was very much into that sort of stuff. He literally showed us of characters with 𝗁𝗀 anatomy and still wants us to believe it wasn't intentional. We can put 2 and 2 together. We're not stupid. He also called a now deleted user a real-life 𝗁𝗀 on Twitter back in 2016. I need you to explain that right now, SirCutieYuki, because I'm on the phone with the police. Hello, 911. Arrest this creep.
FBI, open up!
It was around this time in 2021 that I reflected on my own experience with Yuki, the recent accusations, and realized that I finally have a platform to call attention to his scummy behavior. So I started making drafts, reaching out to people and gathering screenshots. And to be fair, I wasn't too secretive about working on a video about a certain Minecraft YouTuber I used to work for back in the day. So it shouldn't have come as a surprise when he caught wind of it. In my head though, it was unlikely as I had already moved accounts and rebranded, so anyone who didn't already know my history wouldn't connect the dots. At the same time, as I've never mentioned the Minecraft YouTuber by name, I didn't have anything to hide anyways. Unlike Yuki. So when I woke up to a message from the one and only SirCutieYuki after our last interaction all the way back in 2017, I was surprised to say the least. But really the only issue was that I didn't have time to prepare at all. Never would I have ever imagined that he would reach out to arrange a call so we could talk it out. As if that's gonna change anything. I just wish I would have gotten some time to go over everything, arrange my thoughts, because I was pretty much walking into this completely blind. and it shows, unfortunately. One of my friends pointed out that it was probably his intention to prevent me from getting my points across, making it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about. Props to him though, because if that was me, I would have been too ashamed to ever show my stupid face ever again. So it's quite impressive how he could enter that call and lie with confidence. I mean, at least you have that going for you, Yuki. I went into this call quite wary of Yuki already, which I told him directly.
But at the end of the day, you said, and I quote, "But be careful what you say."
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so that's you on the offense.
Oh yeah, because I know that sometimes you can be a little bit manipulative, so
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting you to kind of guilt trip me and
Right.
give me a sob story to make me not want to make this video, but...
Right. So, counterpoint, when was the last time we spoke?
Yeah, 2017.
Right. So you're saying that I was manipulative.
Oh.
You're saying I am currently. We haven't spoken that long time. We don't know each other anymore as of now.
Yeah.
Right.
To be honest, I didn't want an apology. In a situation like this, an apology counts for absolute shit, even if he truly meant it, which I highly doubt. Personally, I think he's only apologizing to get people off his back, but that's just a theory. A game theory. The only reason I ever agreed to that call was because I figured it's the perfect opportunity to get a verbal confession. I just want to take a second to thank Yuki for making this call, because it was the final nail in the coffin. All I had before was a couple of screenshots, my own experience, and the words of my friends. You practically dug your own grave, and I appreciate it. Thanks! Now, I already played you his confessions at the beginning, so I'm not gonna put you through the same clips again. Instead, I'm just gonna show you his sad attempts at manipulation, intimidation, and just straight up lies.
Obviously, I've been wanting to reach out to try and see if we can, like, talk about you wanting to make this video, because at the end of the day, whatever it does, it's going to damage me, it's going to damage you, it's just going to be shit all around.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Spent a lot of time doing that, and like sometimes recordings could take up to, I remember staying up to like 3 a.m.
I remember. You're not wrong about that at all. So with that, it's not like that now.
Oh yeah.
And you know, if you want to find that out, that's for you to ask, right?
I'm trying to be really fair, because I don't want you to get shit that isn't warranted.
It doesn't matter what you do. If you release a video, you name drop me, Yuki has done some shit, you know, cringy, embarrassing shit. Yeah, I will agree. It is. But at the same
I don't
time,
think it was,
either way,
I think it's more than just cringy and embarrassing. Some of this is straight up criminal.
Some of those things are listed, and we're going to go through them. Trust me. But my point is, only found that out today, right? So, of course, I'm going to speak up and try and sort it out, right? You're pointing a lot of fingers, saying, you know, you've done this, you've done that. You know, I'm worried about this happening now. I'm worried about, you know, you're concerned for the people around me, right?
Yeah.
And I get that's your goal. Like, I totally get that. So, yeah, threatening people to leave, that is not a thing anymore.
And not guilt trip people.
Right. So at the beginning of recordings, I remind everyone, I'm sorry, such person, you're probably going to play background cast today. That person is priority. Is everyone cool with that? Yeah? I write all of the stuff now. I write everything. People do come with me with their ideas, but I do write everything now. I don't rely on others to do this, that, the other. Things are recorded scene by scene now, so that we're not wasting people's time who, you know, stay up for it, and they don't feel like they have to. You know, I remind people that, you know, you don't have to come if you can't, you know, just when it's available and you want to. As for the, and so sorry to say this word, but as for the trap stuff, at the time, I only really knew how to draw feminine bodies, quote unquote. And, you know, I even used to use that word quite often back then. I did used to use that word often. The reason I would use that word, it was really awkward because in obviously Sam's series, I used to say Yuki was a tramp. I used to say that sentence. It was the worst way possible of my slight skimming attempt of coming out as trans while not coming out as trans.
Okay.
That's what that was about. As for the drawing stuff, like, ew. That's all I can really say on that, ew. All I can say is I've probably learned how to draw bodies now, and that's not a thing at all. The next thing is sharing inappropriate images and drawings.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff is embarrassing as all hell, and yeah, I'm hella ashamed. So I went by the UK law during that time. I was like, 16 and up is fine. It's not fine.
Oh, yeah, because I'm pretty sure that even though the age of consent is 16, you still have to be 18 to view and distribute.
So in my mind, I thought it was okay. It's not.
Even if it was legal, for the sake of argument, that doesn't make it okay. If you're above the age of 20, there's absolutely no reason for you to show anyone under 18, let alone 16, and make sexual comments around and towards them. Mind you, there were people younger than me exposed to this at the time. I'm tired of the excuses, cause that's all Yuki ever gives. I didn't know. I don't remember. But I've changed. Fuck you. Fuck that. Oh yeah, but I'm pretty sure that and it did confront you about that, and it didn't turn out well.
Wow, I don't know what situations you're talking about, and I can't really.
Oh yeah, you had a not safe for work chat, I'm pretty sure, and the age
I made it for 17 and up.
Yeah, right. 17 to compensate, and when they said that you can't do that,
I did, yeah. I did that because I was going in between the laws. Well, yeah, I was shocked. I thought it was okay, and obviously it wasn't. Right. That's no longer a thing.
Okay, good.
Very strict about that sort of stuff now.
Well, first of all, I don't know why you want a not safe for work chat to begin with when you're running a Minecraft crew, and I can only hope it's for the purposes of sharing a little spicy memes. But knowing Yuki, it wouldn't surprise me if straight up was posted there. Especially seeing as he tried to argue that the porn he drew of his own character and another porn artists were taken from that channel, which it wasn't, as there wasn't a not safe for work chat when I was in the crew and I left early 2017. In the notes he added to this call, he's passing blame on the kids that were allegedly upset they didn't get to see the porn, so he just gave in. Oh, whatever am I to do with this woke mob of 15-year-olds? You're the adult here, and you're the one that should have known better. In fact, he did know better, because the other adults were telling him that he can't show minors hentai, and he started crying like he always does. In his defense, he was shocked, as if I care. He's not the victim here. He obviously wants you to think that all of the not safe for work images I provided as proof came from the not safe for work chat and it was just a one-time mistake. That's not true, as he actively was showing us. We were exposed to it through his not safe for work Twitter, which he invited a few of us minors to follow because we were old enough, according to him. Then there's also he sent me through DMs, which he claimed he only showed me to ask for advice on anatomy, which is a lie. Not to mention the lewd images he would send and delete in crew chat. Along with his sexual predatory practices, he also admits that he would pressure people to do stuff before.
So that's something that I bring up with like other crew members like half the time. You know, if you ever feel like you're being pushed or if you just don't want to do something, don't feel like you ever have to. That's something I'm very adamant about, because I was like that back in the day where I'd push people really hard to do this and that for me, for my benefit, and at the end of the day, they should be doing it because they want to, especially as a volunteer.
But wait guys, he's no longer like that, so you can't hold him accountable. Yeah, you can take that logic and shove that up where the sun doesn't shine, because here we are 1 year later and people are now accusing him of perpetuating the very same behavior he claimed he's grown out of.
So that was a fucking lie.
Halfway through the call, he asked to bring in his trusted crew member to vouch for him. I find this particularly disgusting because from what I know about this person, they're genuine, and Yuki most likely had the intention of taking advantage of their good reputation.
There was something I wanted to ask you, and in return, obviously, you'll get the same opportunity as well. Do you remember?
Yeah?
Yeah. So I've asked, and again, obviously, if I just really prefer if you just accept if could come in as a witness.
As a witness? Why?
Because some was there back then and still here now. Told me like, yeah, I've seen some of the you've done in the past. So I'm not going to deny if Miles does say that you've done this, that, the other, but wants to reassure you what things are like today.
Ironically, this person no longer stands by Yuki, as he admittedly has shown to be toxic in August of 2023, so it's irrelevant to the call that took place in 2022. How the f is that irrelevant? Like, we're calling out the very same behavior and that you haven't changed, which you obviously haven't. Although Yuki has already put this member on blast next to me, they probably feel like the guy that was crucified next to Jesus, I never intended to reveal their identity. And I still don't. I will, however, reveal the identity of the fourth person in the call, as Yuki allowed me to invite a friend to. Now, this is quite funny, as Yuki made a note in the video he released stating, "I don't remember the name of this person, I just know they were there to support Miles." The person in question was none other than 𝗀𝗃. Are you really telling me you don't remember 𝗀𝗃 from the hit series Gareth and Jay's Christmas Adventure, which you coincidentally happen to be a guest on, also known as the friendly kid from yonder high school? He's been a good friend of mine since late 2021, and it all started with my initial SirCutieYuki video, where I was kind enough to withhold his identity at the time. Jay happened to watch it, sent me an email, and the rest is history. Even though my time in Yuki's crew was awful, absolute dog shit, I don't regret a second, as I met some genuine people who aren't treating me like just another disposable asset, and for that, I am very grateful. Anyways, it was at this point Yuki's true intentions grew more obvious. It started with him wanting to prove to me that he's a changed man and wants people to understand that this is something that's in the past.
Right.
It's gonna be pretty obvious.
I mean, that's fine if you do want to talk about that stuff, and if you do name drop me, all I ask is that before you start talking about everything, is that you say Yuki has since changed and let them know, like, Yuki's not who they were before then. We've had a talk, XYZ, you know?
Yeah, I can totally do that.
Yeah. I'm really adamant on that you say it in the beginning before you start spouting everything, because people will... You know, once they've listened to it all, before you even get to that bit, they've already got all these assumptions in their head, right?
Yeah,
and that's totally fine. That's totally fair. All I ask is that you don't name drop me, because I just don't want to be wrapped up in old shit that I've since changed from. That's why I'm so adamant on that.
Name drop, but like...
I don't want to be named.
Okay.
I just don't want to be a part of it, really. Yes, those were experiences with me, but at the end of the day, people are going to then point fingers at me for stuff that I have done, and they won't accept that I've changed. There's going to be people like that, right? And then, and vice versa. And this is going to sound a bit sus, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to be real with you, thinking on it in my head. But, you know, if you were to name drop me, and, you know, I tell people, you know, it's fine, don't worry about it, but people are still going to act on it, right? So I just don't want it to reverse Uno on you, right? And obviously I would tell people not to, but at the same time, kids, so again, I'm sorry if that sounded a bit off. Still, even then, you're saying you're going to talk about me and talk about old stuff and say my name, and that way people are going to be directed to me, even if you tell them not to. People are still going to take that in a certain way and bring it.
So, am I not supposed to talk about our experiences? I thought we just concluded that.
Really, you already did, and I'm saying that it's fine that you did. And I'm just saying by going about it again, it's just kind of messed up, really, because...
Messed up? How?
It's messed up because I'm just being targeted again for old stuff that's been fixed. And I understand there are people that are still feeling it and are still, you know, wound up by it. And I've, you know, reached a hand out and said if they want to sort it out, that's fine. And obviously, if not, and you know, they're sitting there hurting, then I wish them the best. I hope they get the closure that they need. But they're saying it.
So like right now I'm wondering like where are you trying to get at with this?
At the end of the day, I just don't want to be mentioned, so it doesn't, you know, I don't have to deal with old stuff again.
I understand that you wouldn't want to be mentioned, but
I don't want to deal with old stuff again because I know I've already changed from it, and I know things have been changed, and it's been you know, explained to you that things aren't like that anymore.
Yeah, I understand. Like,
and I know you're doing this because, you know, some people are hurting and you want to protect people. I get it.
I do.
But you're at the same time you're basically saying, you know, I am going to call you out for old shit, and whether that affects you or not is
old shit. Like, this is making it seem like I'm just, oh, this person called me the F slur. Like, no, this is a very serious stuff.
What, like me threatening suicide and
showing porn to kids,
drawing
porn of.
I did show inappropriate stuff to 16-year-olds, yeah, but that was going by UK law, and since, honestly, ever since it happened, I've corrected it.
As I said before, distribution and age of consent is not the same thing.
Yeah, it's 18 in the UK to look at.
Again, I didn't know that. That was something brought up earlier.
I mean,
before you were in the call.
The
law doesn't take.
Law doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, excuse it.
It's not cool, yeah, but it's not, you know. It's just a mistake that happened.
I mean,
it's not like I groomed anyone.
You shouldn't be doing that as a Minecraft YouTuber to begin with. He grew ever more demanding, changing the goalpost and resorted to veiled threats, letting me know that it's gonna reflect badly on the both of us and he can't stop his fans from attacking me if I do make a video. What do you mean reflect badly on us exactly? Like, you're saying that as if we're equally to blame, which we aren't. You're kind of in the wrong here. When he said that, even Jay was DMing me in disbelief that he didn't make it less obvious. If you have to preface something with, ooh, this is gonna sound bad, then maybe that's a sign that you're in the f***ing wrong. The thing is that what prompted me to make this video was his dismissal of someone being groomed as recent as 2020. To me, that was proof that he hadn't changed. He was as selfish as ever and was willing to publicly patronize a victim to protect a co-worker of his, someone he was profiting off of at the time. If I would have gotten enough time to prepare for the call, I would have stressed this more, as I wasn't going after him just because of old stuff and for shits and giggles, but I had a reason to believe he was still the same terrible person behind the scenes. Now, to be quite honest, this call left me feeling demoralized and I had second thoughts. At the same time as I didn't want to let down all the people that were cheering me on behind the scenes, I couldn't help but wonder if I was really doing the right thing. Unfortunately, that affected my process as I shifted my focus, barely mentioning Yuki in my now deleted hit piece, as it's been referred to. In hindsight, Yuki truly didn't deserve my sympathy at all. He was just playing the victim, as he always does, and probably always will, unless he changes his way. Due to personal circumstances, I ended up privating the video. I won't go into detail, but I felt inclined to correct Yuki, who claimed I deleted the video due to the backlash, as it implies a significant portion of the audience opposed the video, which, wasn't the case. I put a lot of effort and research into this video, even though there's quite a lot of changes I would have done now if I were to remake it all. I still stand by what I said. I took it down for much more personal reasons. Mind you, this all took place around the time I was getting top surgery. I don't know about you, but I didn't have the time nor energy to think about Yuki. I was sleeping a lot in the beginning. That probably had something to do with my declining motivation, at the same time as it didn't seem to be leading anywhere. Maybe it was a sign to let it go, so I did. Now, before proceeding with this video and going over the more recent allegations in detail, I'd like to give one of my dear friends I met in the crew, Oliver, a moment to speak as they insisted. I really appreciate them doing this, as it adds to their credibility to have even more people using their real voice to affirm not only my story, but that of everyone that has recounted their experience with SirCutieYuki. So, without further ado, here's Ollie.
In Yuki's document, he claims he was ignorant of the laws, considering 16 to be old enough to expose explicit content to. He used this as a point for Miles, who was 16 at the time. I'm almost exactly 1 year younger than Miles, with both of us being born in June. For context, I joined the crew at the age of 14 in 2016, and was in a group of 2 to 3 new crew members right after the first initial crew applications. I was brought on specifically by Yuki for being an avid fan artist and builder in the creative section of the 𝗬𝗶𝗁𝗂𝗧𝗏 server. Immediately, there was a power dynamic due to Yuki previously being in my absolute favorite Minecraft roleplay. At the time of being shown not safe for work art in the crew Discord channel, I was 15 years old. I remember the crew chat being asked if they wanted to see something, which made me feel important. I said yes, of course, and was sent a drawing of Yuki, who was depicted as much smaller than normal, naked with someone's persona. At the time, I didn't recognize the other character, but this person would have joined the crew either before or after this. They had recently become Yuki's new favorite person. I screenshot the drawing, only thinking it was weird due to the sort of human and semi-animal relationship depicted, but quickly deleted it as I didn't want to have something like that on my phone. In this time span, Yuki had already deleted it from the chat. In the call that Yuki released, he claims that some of his not safe for work drawings were taken from a not safe for work Discord chat. This was not the case at all, because said chat never existed while Miles and I were in the crew. I actually had no idea about this, and I think it's strange to have a not safe for work chat in a server for Minecraft roleplays and fans in the first place. The not safe for work drawing was drawn around the end of 2016 or beginning of 2017, during which Yuki was putting out multiple drawings of his new favorite person. I had seen this happen time and time again, and thought it was normal and that maybe Yuki had a new romantic partner. I'd been convinced by this point that adults dating minors was normal due to a previous relationship Yuki had. Also, in the video of the call, the person who had not safe for work drawn of them was actually brought up. I still want to avoid mentioning their name, even if Yuki has been open about it. This part reads, I actually had a discussion with blank about this accusation. They remind me of how they were 18 turning 19 during this time. I was 21 turning 22 during the time that we met up and flirted. I had drawn not safe for work of their OC during this time as well. When asked about their age, Yuki said he couldn't remember, but when asked how old they were when not safe for work was drawn of them together, Yuki quickly remembered that they were definitely 18.
Are you still friends with
I know, yeah. We don't really talk, but I've got him on Discord.
Isn't he the same age as me?
No. Well, I have no idea, actually. No, I don't think so.
No, I'm pretty sure he was 17 back when I was 17.
Right.
Actually, the last time we talked isn't the last time on Discord, it was on Twitter. When you told me to not show others you're not safe for work after I showed an adult the you allowed me to see, and yeah, the one included you and Boney.
He's not underage then. No.
Oh yeah,
No.
No, I'm pretty sure he was.
No, he wasn't.
On the contrary, this person would turn 18 almost a year later in December of 2017. Because of this, I can assume that the art was made around the time that they had just turned 17. Keep in mind that Yuki was almost 21 at this point. After the discussion with Yuki, this tweet was quickly deleted, as were any other indicators of this person's birthday or age. If they had not been saved prior to the call, I wouldn't be able to double check this. I assume that Yuki urged them to do this as a cover-up. I'm very sure that there was no way they were 18 during this time, because the last episode that my friends were in before we left was this one. I was not in the crew chat after leaving, so there's no way I would be able to know about the not safe for work drawing past this point. Meanwhile, I was still under 16, having been exposed to this content. Let's go on to a similar instance that happened months prior. This one has less evidence, but I'd still like to talk about it the way I remember it going. One day in a Skype call, presumably with the Youngers chat, which was the dedicated chat for 15 years or younger crew members, Yuki shared his screen for everyone. At first, he was just scrolling through his Tumblr feed, which occasionally featured not safe for work art. After someone mentioned the not safe for work, Yuki jokingly showed his own collection of not safe for work art, saying something about how he's not so innocent. I remember actually being shocked by this for some reason. I guess that reason being that I was 15 years old and that this person was an idol to me. Afterwards, because I was an avid user of Tumblr and thought of Yuki as a sort of friend, I followed the Tumblr account he was using. I don't have any more proof of this happening because I'd never think to record a private call. I do, however, have proof that Yuki shared his screen, allowing me to get this Tumblr account. Sometime later, probably months due to the fact that we made the switch from Skype to Discord, I was mentioned in Yuki's public journal in his server. I'd like to clarify that the screenshot was pulled from a rather nasty online forum that we happened upon years ago while we were still in the crew. Neither I nor Miles have ever participated in this forum or the people that we know. I'm not really sure why someone posted this because there's nothing wrong with this journal entry. It just so happened to have my name mentioned in it and I had no other way to get this. Not only is this forum something I avoid, but a lot of the things written there about Yuki are false and speculative. Anyways, the part that I was mentioned in reads, "I hope this writing thing may help me. It's better than me going on Tumblr. I had been using Tumblr for the past, almost 3 years now to vent my thoughts, and I found out Oliver was following me on there. Finding it through my Gmail possibly? Though now you can't search my Gmail to find that Tumblr. So that was alarming, but I was almost sure he may have just liked the stuff I reposted at the time. I'm unsure. Well, as for now, my second can of Monster is open, and I will probably remain in deep thought." This Tumblr account was apparently a private one, which I didn't know. I also don't know what Yuki's Gmail is. I'm not even sure how to find an account by email on Tumblr now. I remember my face going hot after seeing this, quickly apologizing in the crew chat. I was incredibly embarrassed, I had clearly freaked him out, so I didn't tell him how I found the account. Here's a screenshot of the last post on the Tumblr account that I used at the time that includes a timestamp. As you can see, I never turned 16 when using this account. I would have turned 16 in June of 2017. I used this Tumblr from the ages 14 to 15. If you want to seek this account out, it's just edgy things. The things I reblogged were quite similar to what Yuki reblogged, which made me follow him. That's not a lot of proof, is it? Where's the you ask? I don't have it, why would I? I never thought I would need to keep things like that because I hadn't dedicated the past few years of my life to Yuki's demise, even if he feels that way. Honestly, Yuki could just say these things didn't happen, I have no counter-argument for it. But there's no reason for me to lie about it. I purposely tweeted about the situation from a side account because I don't want attention from it. I have a life, and admitting I spent my formative years working for a Minecraft YouTuber is embarrassing. Unfortunately, part of the video process is keeping my name in screenshots. Still, why do I need to come forward with this in the first place? I think that Yuki's counter-argument of age of consent confusion is a stupid thing for me to have to work around. Yes, I was 15 defeats his argument, but my friends were still all minors. I shouldn't have to prove that I was 15 and got sent not safe for work when there's already evidence of him sending it to a 16-year-old. I don't think that having been previously groomed or being confused on the laws should be an excuse here. As someone who was successfully groomed before this ever happened, having dated a 16-year-old at the age of 12, never in my adult years have I ever considered interacting vaguely, romantically, or sexually with anyone a few years younger than me, let alone a minor. If anything, my experience left me with a fear of similar situations, leading me to never want that to happen to someone else. This is the reason I still want to talk about this after all these years. I'm the oldest of my siblings and I would never want them or anyone their age to be in the same situation. As for law confusion, you did at least enough research to know that the age of consent was 16, but not what that meant. Not only that, but many of these people were not consenting to sexual conversation. Even if they were, the possession of sexual content involving minors, drawn or not, is still illegal. Showing sexual content to people under the age of 18, drawn or not, is also illegal. These aren't just accusations he's addressed, but real situations that have happened to real people. I think it's weird that he was keeping up with who was apparently legal anyways, because the first thing you think when one of your child crew members turns 16 shouldn't be, they're legal now. Had we just been able to participate in a Minecraft crew in a professional environment, none of this would have happened. Believe it or not, you can interact with minors and adults without talking about anything sexual. Something that is incredibly difficult for Yuki. He shouldn't be producing Minecraft content at all, even if he says his target audience is older teens, children are still going to be in his community and watching his videos after seeing a Minecraft YouTube thumbnail. The fact that this happened online seems to dilute the situation for people. I'm not sure if it's because people don't remember what middle schoolers and high schoolers are like in real life, but if this were to happen in person, Yuki would have gotten into legal trouble. If a 20-year-old had shown someone 16 on their phone, and that 16-year-old told another adult, then something would have happened. If a 20-year-old goes to the mall with a group of 10 to 16-year-olds, it would be weird, even without adding in the fact that the person is making inappropriate jokes and showing them adult content. If someone in their 20s hangs out with a 17-year-old in real life, they should quickly realize that they don't have much in common, let alone romantic or sexual chemistry. I also think that part of the reason Yuki wasn't perceived as a threat by me and others is because he presented female at the time. I say this with no malice as someone who is genderqueer myself, but being trans does not dismiss the privilege your assigned gender has given you in the past or present. Had this happened with a cis man, things would have gone completely different. There have been many cis male YouTubers who have been quote-unquote cancelled for much less. At one point in the call that was recorded, Yuki says that some of the gross things that he was interested in, such as traps, was a way of discovering his gender identity. This is disgusting and a horrible stereotypical representation of the trans community. I would also like to make it clear that grooming is not always an aspect of age. Power is also an important aspect to it. Grooming also doesn't have to have an end goal, such as wanting to date that person, but it is a process of normalizing something to someone. Whether this was on purpose or not doesn't change the way it affects people. It's not that hard to avoid manipulating people, but maybe after years of doing it and reaping the benefits, it is. Yuki has created an online space where he knows he can get away with anything he wants, where he knows that someone will always be there to defend him, and where his word matters over everyone else's. Yuki constantly infantilizes himself and uses that as an escape and manipulation tactic, even after getting in trouble for the same things time and time again. He sits and plays dumb when people he's hurt before mysteriously get backlash for speaking up. The grasp that Yuki has over both minors and adults is strong, and he knows that. That being said, the way he treats fellow adults is horrible as well. Asking personal questions, making sexual comments, oversharing sexual experiences, these are all things that would quickly get you dropped from a friend group in real life. Unfortunately, this is the internet, which makes it much more difficult to do so, especially if someone has much more influence and power than you. These are just my thoughts on the situation, and at the end of the day, I'm very grateful to have been able to learn that these things were wrong through therapy and the support of friends. This is what evidence I have, but I'm only telling it to add to the pile of other evidence. I would be able to show a lot more if 𝗀cie𝗶𝗁𝗃 wiped their chat logs in 2017. There have been many more memories I can think of from the time I spent under him involving drunken arguments, relationship drama, and relying on children for emotional support. Overall, it was a toxic and upsetting time, which I can see hasn't changed in the years since.
Once again, thank you so much, Ollie. Mid-2022, up till recently, I just stayed quiet, and I didn't have any intentions of bringing it up either. That was until the 20th of August this year, where a certain person known as Data tweeted out a document from his character account called Sherry, titled My Time in the SirCutieYuki Crew. The document is 60 pages long, so I'm only gonna summarize some of the points brought up. I do, however, urge you to go read it for yourself, as he provides lots of screenshots. As always, you'll find a link in the description. Almost immediately, he disproves Yuki's claim that he no longer talks shit behind crew members' backs rather than dealing with whatever issue he's got personally. You still talk people behind the back, like the crew members?
No. I should talk them to their face if they do shit, you know. I'm gonna be honest with them.
27th of April this year, he said, like, genuinely, it might sound crazy, but, like, to me, Data is a walking red flag that I have no idea what to do with. So, I'm just waiting for him to leave. Pretty sure he will eventually. Like, end or during DDA. Yuki quite literally told me that if he's got an issue nowadays, he takes it up with the person in question. But he then goes on to admit that he's just waiting for the problem to resolve, all while making his distaste of Data known to others in private. To me, it's very clear that Yuki really is incapable of running a crew, as he can't even confront someone he believes is disruptive to the community, whether that's true or not. Instead, he would rather spin theories that Data's girlfriend at the time was made up, that Data is making sock puppet accounts to ask himself questions, and that Data is influencing people to oppose him, as if that's not what he's literally doing to Data. Yuki is 27 years old at this point, and can't help but sink to the very same level of a high schooler engaging in petty drama. Another incident worth mentioning that was brought up in this document involves a crew member making a borderline joke. Again, I really suggest you go and read Data's document for yourself, as it's his story to tell, though I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions, so I figured I should provide some context, based on Data's own retelling of events. Data went AFK during a stream, leaving his Minecraft avatar in-game when an unnamed crew member spawned inside of him. This happens all the time and most people wouldn't think twice. The problem is that this individual goes on to say they were inside of Data, and when asked if they got consent, they said they don't need to. That, of course, is bad in and of itself, but there's even more. Someone correctly states that consent matters, to which the crew member responds with, they weren't there. Data, who's no longer AFK, goes, that's like saying it's okay because they were asleep. To which they continued with, if I don't tell them, they won't know. Consent isn't an option. Disgusting. I know there's many out there that will excuse this as simply ignorance, which is in fact the case, but it's not without consequences. I understand some people are gonna be able to brush this off as they've got no experience with and aren't affected by a distasteful joke like that. Though I'd like you to keep in mind that you never know who's a victim of as not everyone is open about it. In this case specifically, the jokes were made about a rape survivor, which Data opens up about in his document. Something that Yuki already knew about, really putting his unsympathetic response into perspective. Although he at first seemed to somewhat understand why Data was upset, he still made vague excuses for the person in question, even going as far as saying, quote, shouldn't be joking about it in the first place, unless you know the people around you. Clearly, he doesn't know the people around him, implying it's okay as long as you know, or rather think you know, someone isn't a victim. He literally didn't have to put unless in there. Do you want to know when it's okay to make a rape joke? Never. It's never okay to make rape jokes for f***'s sake. In my humble opinion, Data had all the right to be upset. Yet all he really did was relay the information to Yuki. He wasn't demanding that Yuki take action, he wasn't being rude. All he did was tell Yuki, the man in charge of this person, what happened, and let him know how he felt about it. Hell, I don't know the crew member in question, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt too. Let's say that this is a one-time thing. They probably weren't thinking things through before opening their mouth, and they didn't mean to offend anyone. You don't have to punish them. Though you should, at the very least, have a talk with them. More so for their own sake. Just let them know that jokes like that make people uncomfortable. Literally no need to stress. That's just why it completely baffles me, and probably Data too, to find out that Yuki was telling others that Data was just over-exaggerating everything. Having read their conversation, I don't think he was, but for the sake of argument, let's say his retelling of events was super dramatic. Is it not reasonable for a victim of rape to be triggered by such a joke? Alas, I can't really say I'm surprised that Yuki would dismiss a rape victim this way, seeing how he treated the person that accused his former friend of grooming. Again, this is simply a fraction of Data's experience, and if you want to know more, you'll find the links in the description. I must say that I commend him, cause his document had the effect, which my video didn't. It opened the floodgates. Sometimes all it takes is for one person to step forth, for others to feel safe speaking out, especially when they can see that people are taking the allegations seriously. As expected, more people followed in the days to come, many making threads on their own personal experience, all of them very similar in nature. At one point, Yuki actually addressed some of the accusations in 2 now deleted documents, which I've referenced throughout this video. I honestly don't know what his intention with this first document was, because at the same time as he starts off saying it's all petty he said she said type of stuff, he still goes on to admit to a lot of the stuff Data accused him of. Man literally went, yes, I'm unprofessional. Yes, I do pick favorites. Yes, I talk my crew members. And yes, I called him a sociopath with a fake girlfriend. However, I interpreted him as spiteful when I asked about his characters. No, I won't show proof or even explain why I thought he was intentionally being mean. Just trust me, it was the vibes. I just have to read this part specifically out to you because it pretty much sums up this entire show. Quote. His next point moves on to painting myself as a victim, which I will admit to, I have done that before, many times. It's something I'm working on. I don't think I'm a great person, and I'm sorry that I have been a bit of a shit stirrer, really getting into the drama, to put it plainly. I have been a toxic person, and sometimes to this day, I still am. I get wrapped up in things too much, and it causes me to be really nasty, which is why I try to vent these feelings out to friends. Like, case closed? Why is anyone even doubting the allegations at this point when he literally admitted to all of it and then went, "But I'm going to therapy so you can't hold me accountable." Clearly, you need a new f***ing therapist because you've been at it for over 8 years, my guy. The excuses don't cut it no more. It's time to grow up. Only 5 days after the initial document dropped, another one was published. This time by a user called Anonymous P1902, or Anonymous Party. As the name suggests, it's a bunch of former members that came together to voice their concerns in a collaborative document, completely anonymous, which I do understand takes away from the credibility. Although I'm inclined to believe a majority of the document as I've experienced it firsthand. I know I can't take it at face value simply because they didn't back up any statements with screenshots or some sort of proof, and that's not an attack, as I understand they're anonymous for a reason. Though I should probably mention that I personally did take issue with the parts where they, for example, referenced medical articles describing symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, suggesting that Yuki might be suffering from it. We simply don't know, and it's dangerous to speculate. Besides, I don't really understand what difference it will make. It's not a crime to have a stigmatized disorder in and of itself, you know what I mean? Like, it's his actions we take issue with. We're not gonna double cancel him because we think he might have cooties or some shit. Other than that, I do appreciate that former associates would try and bring attention to not only Yuki's predatory behavior, but also his manipulative tendencies, victim complex, Asian fetishization, and just inappropriate behavior in general. You're free to read it for yourself, as I feel I've already covered a lot of the behavior described in the document throughout this video, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. The links will be in the description. Although I find their stories worth reading, at the end of the day, it's just anecdotal evidence. Like, accusing someone of preying on minors is a very serious thing, and you should preferably show something to back up these claims. Unfortunately, that's not always possible, as often the assailant will cover their tracks, or the victims simply don't want to be identified, like in this case. I, on the other hand, didn't mind putting myself out there as long as it could help someone. That's why I once again decided to share my screenshots of him sending me lewd pictures when I was 16 and he was 20, telling me I'll be legal in the UK in response to a tweet about how I'm turning 16 soon, in some short art he drew of himself and a friend. I'll be honest, I can't remember how I got hold of the last image, as it could have been a number of ways. Like I said before, he had a tendency to randomly show porn to whoever he was talking to at the time, as well as inviting me and my other minor friends to follow his not safe for work account, where he posted porn of his underage looking character getting absolutely f***ed. He can argue that it wasn't intentional and it was just his art style at the time until the cows come home. But I know for a fact that he was into 𝗳𝗏 and lolicon back then, and so do many others. As much as I really wish I would have saved more proof, please keep in mind that this happened like 6 years ago, and at the time I didn't think I would go on to expose him, and I really didn't want that weird shit saved on my computer. I was 16. Sue me. Eventually, Yuki posted another document, updating everyone, giving his final thoughts. Realizing he couldn't keep on deflecting, he finally took accountability. Accountability in air quotations, cause it's only ever done to get people off his back, as he goes, "I've already taken accountability, what more can I do?" I understand he's not used to facing consequences, so this is all new to him. But simply admitting to your absolutely horrible behavior is not taking accountability. Simply apologizing and following it up with, "I still want to create, I love making MCRP content. I love using Minecraft as a medium to tell a story, to make the skins, building, recording, editing, thumbnails, directing, writing. I love doing it. And I have so many more stories I want to produce. I know that I must change the way I do things for the sake of things being better for those around me. And I'll do my best in doing so." It's not taking accountability. He's not going to like what I have to say, but if he truly wants to make things right, he would have left the internet a long time ago. As much as I believe in second chances, that's for the people that have engaged in petty drama. Yuki is a predator. Not only does he prey on kids, encourage them to engage in behavior, he also exploits members of his community to shit out his soulless Minecraft videos. His unpaid team of kids do most of the hard work, the essential work. He can say, "I always say that I would be nothing without my crew," all he wants, cause it doesn't mean shit when he treats them as horribly as he does. That's why I find it just laughable that he keeps stressing just how badly he wants to come back because he just feels so passionately about Minecraft roleplay. That's bullshit! What he's really passionate about is sitting on his ass half the time, only having to show up to record like once a week, and even then he will cancel it last second because he just didn't feel like it. I was playing League, I overslept. As if his crew members haven't already cleared up their entire schedule to help this man-child produce content for his YouTube channel. It's practically a content farm. That's what it is. A content farm. Anyone who might have checked his social media recently would have seen the teasers for his next project, though it's uncertain whether he will proceed with this impromptu series, as it didn't distract from the accusations like he probably thought it would. He already had to postpone it once, as his critics weren't as quick to forget what he's done this time. This time, they were more persistent, and wouldn't even turn a blind eye to his not safe for work VTube account, Andy Leinart, formerly known as Andy Linhart. He changed it to Leinart right after a thread tagging Andy Linhart started circulating, most likely so that the tag wouldn't lead to his profile in a meager attempt to evade accountability. What did he think would happen? All of us would go, "Oh no, he slightly changed his name. Guess we're all just gonna have to forget about all those times he groomed kids." Obviously, that didn't work, and if anything, he probably stoked the fire. All eyes were on his many accounts. He couldn't even retreat to his gay clown demon hentai safe space where he could post horse-sized as if people weren't exposing him for the sick pervert he is on main. At one point he just straight up deleted the documents where he addressed the situation, probably because no one was buying it except his underage fans that are either clueless of the allegations or the severity of them. In what I can only describe as a last resort effort to make it all go away, he would completely rebrand out of nowhere. This is a bold move, having built up his brand for the past 8 years, and should set off alarm bells considering the circumstances. Like, what are you hiding? Oh, I know, all those kids you used to live out your corruption, kid. Ain't that funny? Quote, "Welcome to the Candy Apple VA's channel, in parenthesis, formerly known as SirCutieYuki. To mark a new era of making MCRP and productions, this channel will now be rebranding. Thank you for all the support. If you want closer updates, join our Discord, he wrote on his YouTube community tab. This is some straight up Lumi Starbun shit. I can only assume he wanted us to think that he's abandoned his old Twitter account and perhaps even left Twitter altogether, as he wouldn't give up the SirCutieYuki at completely. Instead, he changed the at of what used to be his account, where he would constantly tease a comic he would never actually go through with, called Silk Circus. Wiping the entire account, he initially left it with his final words in the bio. Quote, "Twitter isn't worth my mental health. I've apologized for what I believe I should apologize for. I'm moving forward with my life and I hope you can too. Goodbye." Oh, that's pitiful. I'm either crazy or he's implying that he's leaving the internet. Well, send me to the f***ing psych ward, because he was still on his main account under a different name. I must be a complete nutter, because there ain't no way in Satan's freezing booty hole he would give up on all the dead accounts following him from back when he still worked with Sam Gladiator in 2015. I don't know what's more embarrassing, his entitlement to forgiveness, or that he actually thought this would work. He's been digging his own grave from the very beginning and won't stop until he's 6 feet under. I had nothing to do with the recent backlash he faced. I only started speaking my piece when I realized it could add to the other's credibility. Friends behind the scenes kept asking me if I was gonna make a new video, and at first I told them no. Not only is there already a lot going on in my life right now and I don't need another stressor, but I don't actually feel good beefing with some Minecraft YouTuber I used to work for. Yuki is a joke to me. Having worked for him is something I laugh about with my friends. Making this video is taking him too seriously. But I decided it's the best course of action, as I'm sick of him getting away with this, sick of him hiding, sick of him running, and I'm sick of him hurting people. I really hope this is the last time I ever have to talk about him, because I'm so ready to move on with my own life. Now, if you follow me on Twitter at @MilanFiltered, you'd know that I've been quite vocal about my plans to make this video, even letting on that I'll be including clips from the call I had with Yuki. I can only believe he saw this and panicked, which led him to the absolute buffoon decision of releasing the audio along with the document addressing the allegations, where he outright lied about the context of our interactions, at least. Like already stated, he went on to say that he only sent me his lewd drawings asking for art advice. I can't prove that this wasn't the case, and he actually sent me that because I was in a call where he talked about traps and wanted to show me something spicy. But even if it went down the way Yuki claims, it's still weird. It's still weird. While addressing the legal age in the UK my little flower comment, he says he can't remember what that was in response to, in hopes that people would give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was referring to the age where Miles can legally drive in the UK. That's a bit too optimistic. It was in response to my innocent tweet about turning 16. A 20-year-old saw a 15-year-old announcing that they're about to turn 16, and his predatory ass went, "Don't mind if I do." I don't care that he thought it was okay because the age of consent is 16 in the UK, because it's absolutely not culturally accepted. The age of consent is 15 here, and everyone would agree that what you're doing is predatory. He goes on to admit that he did indeed attempt to evade responsibility when he changed usernames, saying, "Something I will admit to is that, yes, I did try to run away. I didn't want to deal with anything I found to be accusatory and I just knew wasn't true. I felt like I had to run away because it's taken away my source of income as well as my mental health. The idea of someone thinking that I'm a groomer is already horrifying. I tried to give myself a new start at trying, but now I know I can't keep running and avoiding things like this and must confront them." This isn't our first rodeo, Yuki. We've done this so many times before. You've given the same excuses, but nothing ever changes. It's been 8 years since our first encounter, and the only way you've improved is in deception. I think it's possible for you to improve, but not like this. Not like a content creator. I think it's harming you in more ways than you'd like to think. This part's addressing certain people and situations I'm not involved with and won't be commenting on, as I feel I've got nothing worthwhile to say, except for this. I'm still trying to change. It's costing me a lot of money to go to therapy, and I do want to change and become more considerate and all around a better person. We're not asking you to go to therapy. We support you if you do, because you really need that help, but that's not the point. The point is that at any other job, you could get fired for misconduct. All of the behavior we've discussed throughout this video would arguably fall under misconduct. You've misused your authority over and over again. Your apologies don't cut it no more. I know you're used to special treatment because you're SirCutieYuki, but it's time to leave. It's time to throw in the towel, because it's very clear that you're not going to change anytime soon, and honestly, you don't deserve any more chances. In his closing statement, he goes on to say, quote, "I have held myself accountable, and any further reminders are counterproductive to my growth." This can be seen throughout this video from January 28th, 2022, where I discussed this with Miles. Hi, that's me. The person who first gave the accusations and has continued to hunt me down for the same things. First of all, of course, you, the person who's used your influence to mistreat everyone around you, would say that you've held yourself accountable. Whatever that means. That's what you told me last year during our call. But here we are again, 1 year later, and your former friends and crew members are telling the very same story those of us before them have been warning everyone about. Secondly, I wasn't the first to give these accusations. I was just the first person to actually put up a fight. Saying that I've been hunting you implies A, that you're innocent, B, that I've continuously spoken out when, besides this video and everything leading up to it, I can only remember doing so last year before you managed to shut me up, and another time when I QRT'd a tweet where you promoted your extremely not safe for work friends account to your main audience full of children. I, a fully grown adult, clicked on their profile and was bombarded with Vork, Pokemon porn or some shit. I could be making that up. It was something extreme that made me nauseous. You do you, but don't f***ing expose kids to that. Jesus f***ing Christ, what is wrong with you? Honestly, this document was probably the best thing he could have ever done to aid me in this video. Not only did he make himself look even worse by just straight up lying, but he also released the audio without censoring names nor cutting out the part where he got his ex-friend who vouched for him. I didn't want to involve those people, so I was gonna work around it, and if anything, it would have been to his benefit. In the document, he just straight up admits that he's no longer friends with the person defending him in call. Quote, "I am aware that blank is currently not pleased with me and my toxic behavior, so I apologize using a call they may have changed their mind about, but I do believe it's very relevant to what's happening now, which I find to be a repeated situation." Like, yeah, it is a repeated situation, Einstein. We were calling you out for toxic behavior in the call, and now you're admitting to your recent toxic behavior. It's a pattern, you brainlet. Again, I'm also gonna include a copy of Yuki's addressing the allegations document, though I'll be censoring other names because although Yuki was the first one to put it out there, I don't want to be the one to perpetuate it. If you doubt anything I've said, please go look at it for yourself. It truly is a show. Last time I checked, Yuki changed back to SirCutieYuki from Candy Apple VA, and he's still very active on Andy line art. It's been a very wild ride to say the least, but I believe it's time to round this off. This video has taken me a long time as I had already left it in the past, accepting that Yuki might have just changed. So it came as a bit of a surprise when a recent wave of people started speaking out. It caught me at the worst possible time as I was not only in the middle of a move, but I'm also in the process of getting tea, which is gonna take about a year after 3 years of waiting, so you know, that kinda sucks. Then there's more personal stuff, but I don't want to bore you with the details. Whatever the case, I've been spreading myself thin, to say the least, making this video, though I really wanted to speak on this topic. I can only hope that I could do it some sort of justice despite the circumstances. I figured I could close all of this off by discussing my intentions with this video. Cause believe it or not, I'm not actually doing all of this just for shit and giggles. Not only do I wish to notify the public about Yuki's history of exploitative and predatory behavior, but I also hope to discourage any further attempts of making a comeback on his part. Obviously, it's not within my power to take away his platform. At the end of the day, all I can really do is speak out and encourage others to do the same. I just think that in an ideal world, he would be banned from content creation in all of its forms. But that's not to say I want to take away his source of income. I want him to be able to make a living, just not as a YouTuber. I think integrating with society would do him good, cause clearly all these years on YouTube and Discord haven't done anything to help his situation. If anything, it's made it worse. As much as I hate capitalism, I still think it's healthy to get out regularly, form a routine, meet new people, expand your circle of friends, and no, interacting with other VTubers on Twitter doesn't count. Now, I don't know if Yuki has any diagnosis preventing him from getting an actual job, but as a disabled person myself, I know from experience that there's resources out there to accommodate certain special needs. I'm not saying that it's easy, cause it really isn't, nor is it for everyone. It is, however, easier and more sustainable than trying to live off of 10k per video as a full-time YouTuber. I'm only really saying this because I know he will use pseudo-progressive language to make me the villain. If this video impacts his career, then he'll be okay, seeing as he's living with his mum. Nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is that it's not like he's gonna end up in the streets. No reasonable person would argue that any of this is unfair, as Yuki has no one else to blame but himself. No one is owed a large following. It's truly a privilege very few are afforded, like Yuki was one lucky bastard to even have the opportunity to make money as a YouTuber, if just for a moment, but he has proven himself incapable of not exploiting the power imbalances that comes with that level of success for his own sexual gratification, repeatedly, for years. I'm not even saying that he shouldn't be able to have a social media account at all. For all I care, he could still have his VTuber account and interact with that community, preferably on a smaller account, for everyone's safety. What I am saying though is that he really shouldn't be pursuing a career as a content creator. That's the only reason that I'm quote-unquote witch hunting him, because I simply don't think he should be in a position where he can continue to mistreat friends and children. He's free to move on with his real life outside of his SirCutieYuki persona. Isn't that enough? In my opinion, that's him getting off easy. He seemingly still intends to make a comeback, as his Twitter bio merely states that he's on a hiatus, probably getting that therapy, allegedly. All I have to wonder is if being a YouTuber truly is worth all of this trouble. I promise you he'd probably be better off working at his local McDonald's, and that's really saying something, because I know fast food employees be going through it, alright? All of that said, I'm done here. I can only hope, I can only pray that this is the very last time I ever have to address this cockroach of a man. Remember to like, subscribe, turn on all notifications, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, etc. Links in description. If you or anyone you know is in desperate need of a new cool PFP drawn by the one and only Miles, you'll find my commission sheet in my pinned tweet. Just hit me up in the DMs if you're interested. Don't be shy, I don't bite. That's all I had to say for now. Thank you for watching. Muggy Mile out.